Test review 9, covering module 9, working with polynomials. Question 1, classify the polynomials by degree and number of terms. To help you with this, when we look at degrees, constant means a degree of 0. Linear is degree of 1. Quadratic is degree of 2. Cubic is degree of 3. Quartic is degree of 4. And quintic is degree 5. Anything more than 5, you would just say the 6th degree, the 7th degree, and so forth. And then the number of terms, we have a monomial, 1 term, binomial, 2 terms, and trinomial, 3 terms. So for here, we have a degree of 5, so that's a quintic. And we have 3 terms here, 3 groups of numbers and or letters separated by plus or minus signs, so that's a trinomial. Next, I have 7x plus 3, so the first term is a degree of 1, the second one's a constant, so that's a degree of 0. When you have a polynomial, you always go with the term that has the biggest degree, so this is a degree of 1, so that's linear. And this is 2 terms, so this is a linear binomial. Next one has a degree of 4, so that's a quartic. And it's 1 term, so that's a monomial. Next, find the sum or difference. So here we are adding and subtracting like terms. So I'm going to add the second one here to the first parentheses. So I'm going to line up the terms. So I have a negative 2x squared y, and I have a positive 3y. And if I add straight down, 1 minus 2 is negative 1. So I have negative 1x squared y minus 3x squared, and then plus 4y. Next, here I'm subtracting, and when you subtract, you're really adding the opposite. So I'm just changing the signs in there. And if I line up the digit or the terms, I have a minus 3y, and I have a minus 4x. And if I were to add straight down or combine like terms, 2 minus 4 is negative 2x. Negative 2y minus 3y is a negative 5y. And then I have plus 1. Question 3. Simplify each expression. So we want to get rid of the parentheses by distributing. So I have x times 2x is going to be 2x squared. And x times negative 5 is a negative 5x. Next, I distribute a negative 3n. So negative 3n times n squared is a negative 3n to the third. Negative 3n times 2n is a negative 6n squared. So next one, distribute the 3n. So that's going to give us 18n to the fourth. Negative 3n times negative 4n is a negative 12n squared. Then I distribute the negative 2 here, and that's going to give us a negative 18n to the fourth. Negative 2 times negative 11 is a positive 22. Then I can combine like terms. The n to the fourth columns eliminate. I'm left with a negative 12n squared plus 22. Question 4, solve the equation. So we want to get rid of our parentheses first, so I'm going to distribute. So that's 4w squared plus 6w plus 2w. And the right-hand side, distribute the 2. That's 4w squared plus 14w minus 6. We want to combine like terms on each side, so we got 4w squared plus 8w equals 4w squared plus 14w minus 6. Now I want all the w's to one side, so I'm going to subtract 4w squared and 14w on both sides. And that leaves us with a negative 6w equaling a negative 6. The final step is to divide by negative 6 on both sides, and w is going to equal a positive 1. Question 5, find each product. So here we're going to distribute. So I got 3b cubed times 2b squared. That's going to be 6b to the 5th. 3b cubed times negative b is a negative 3b to the 4th. And 3b cubed times negative 9 is a negative 27b to the 3rd. Then I distribute the negative 4b, and that's going to give us negative 8b cubed. Negative 4b times negative b is a positive 4b squared. And negative 4b times negative 9 is a positive 36b. Then I distribute the negative 7, and that's going to give us a negative 14b squared. Negative 7 times negative b is a positive 7b. And negative 7 times negative 9 is a positive 63. Then we can combine like terms, so this is going to give us an answer of 6b to the 5th minus 3b to the 4th minus 35b cubed minus 10b squared plus 43b plus 63. The next, I'm just going to FOIL this, so I got x times x, which is x squared. X times 8, negative 8 is negative 8x. 2 times x is a positive 2x. And 2 times negative 8 is a negative 16. Combine like terms, and we're left with x squared minus 6x minus 16. Find each product here. These are special products. I have a difference of squares, or like a square of differences. So I can use the formula a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So if I do that, there's my a squared minus 2ab plus the b squared. Here's my a, here's my b, so I have a, 2b, 2b, and now I can simplify this, which will give us a squared minus 2 times a times 2b is negative 4ab, plus square the 2, that's 4, square the b, that's b squared. Next, it's a square of sums, so I would use the formula a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So I have a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. My a is 2a. My b is going to be 3b. And then simplify it, we can have 4a squared plus 2 times 2 times 3 is 12ab plus 3 squared is 9 plus b squared is b squared. Now for those, you can still FOIL them if you want to. You would still get the same answer, but using the special products formula does make it a little bit quicker. Question 7, find the volume of the box. Volume is length times width times height. So I have 4x times 2x minus 1 times x plus 4. So we can only do 2 at a time, so I'm just going to distribute the 4x, and that gives us 8x squared minus 4x. Then I'm going to take that and multiply that by x plus 4. If I distribute, that gives us 8x to the 3rd minus, or not minus, since that's a 4, 8 times 4 is a positive 32x squared. Negative 4x times x is a negative 4x squared. And negative 4x times 4 is a negative 16x. There I can combine like terms, and I'm left with 8x cubed plus 28x squared minus 16x. And this would all be cubic units. Next, find the product here. If you look at our terms, the terms are the same. We just have opposite signs, which means this is a difference of two squares. And a difference of two squares is a special product, and we can take a squared minus b squared. And our a is here and our b is here. So I plug those into our formulas. I would have x squared y squared minus 3x squared, and then square that. So my answer would be x to the fourth y squared minus 9x to the fourth. Question 9, factor the polynomials. So here I have four terms, so I'm going to factor by grouping. I can factor out a 2x in the first set. 2x squared divided by 2x is x, minus 4x divided by 2x is 2. I already have an x minus 2 here, so I'm just going to be factoring out a 1. That leaves me with x minus 2 in the parentheses. So my answer in factored form would be 2x plus 1 times x minus 2, what we have in the parentheses. Next, I have two terms here, so I factor out the greatest common factor. In this case, it would be 5x, and we're left with x plus 2. You can always verify it by distributing the greatest common factor with everything in the parentheses to get back to your original answer. Factor the polynomials here. I have a trinomial, so I need my answer as a binomial. So I gotta think, what do I multiply to get 12, but add them together, it gives me 8. So if I multiply 6 times 2, that gives me 12. So I would have x plus 6 times x plus 2. And 2 plus 6 does give you 8. This next one, I have a leading coefficient bigger than 1. There's no common factors, so I'm going to use the AC method. So 4x squared times 10 is 40x squared. Now I got to think, what do I multiply to get 40x squared? But add them together to give us negative 13x. That's going to give us a negative 8x and a negative 5x. So I have a negative 8x here, negative 5x here. We bring down the sides to form our other binomials. And then we factor by grouping. I can factor out a 4x here, and that leaves us with x minus 2. I can factor out a negative 5 in the second set, and that gives us x minus 2. So that gives us our answer of 4x minus 5, everything on the outside, times x minus 2, everything on the inside. Question 11. Here we're going to factor, but we'll have to factor more than once. So here I'm going to find the square root. This is a difference of two squares, so I can make this x to the fourth plus 1 times x to the fourth minus 1. So a difference of two squares, you find the square root of the first part, square root of the second part, and each binomial has a plus and a minus. Now this next part, it still has a difference of two squares, so I can break that apart. So the square root of x to the fourth is x squared plus 1 times x squared minus 1. And then I also have a difference of two squares here, which would be x plus 1 times x minus 1. So that gives us an answer of x to the fourth plus 1 times x to the second plus 1 times x plus 1 times x minus 1. Next one, this is also a difference of two squares. So if I factor this one, square root of 121 is 11x, not x squared, it should be just x. And then the square root of 36 is a positive 6 and a negative 6. So I have 11x minus 6. And I don't have any difference of two squares left over, so that would be my final answer. Question 12, factor and determine if the polynomial is a difference of two squares or a perfect square trinomial. This is a perfect square trinomial. I have three terms here, so I know it can fit this formula, a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So I find the square root of 36x squared, which is 6x. Find the square root of 4, and that's 2. The middle term, negative 2 times 6x times 2 is negative 24x. So this is a perfect square trinomial. And in factored form, this would be 6x minus 2, and then that's squared. Now you could write it as 6x minus 2 times 6x minus 2. That is still the same as 6x minus 2 squared. This next one, I have two terms here. I have a perfect square here, a perfect square here. So that's a difference of two squares. And I can fit, this can be the a squared minus the b squared. So this would be the square root of 4h squared, which is 2h. Square of 36 is 6. So that's in factored form would be 2h minus 6 times 2h plus 6. And that would be our factored form. Our last two questions, question 13 and 14, we are dividing with polynomials. So this first one, I have negative 2x to the fifth divided by 2x plus 6x to the fourth divided by 2x minus 10x divided by 2x. And I can simplify from there. This will give us a negative 1 x to the fourth. Remember, when you divide like bases, you subtract the exponents. Plus 6 divided by 2 is 3. X to the fourth divided by x is x cubed. Minus 10x divided by 2x is 5. And our last one, since I'm dividing by a fraction, I'm really multiplying by the reciprocal. So this will be 2 over 3xy. And I'm multiplying everything by, inside the parentheses, I have 3x to the fourth, y squared over 1 minus 4x cubed, y cubed over 1 plus 12 x squared, y to the fourth over 1. From here, I'm just distributing the numerator with the numerator, denominator with the denominator. So that gives us 6x to the fourth, y squared, divided by 3xy, minus, distribute to the next terms. That's going to give us 8x to the third, y to the third, divided by 3xy. Distribute to the third terms, and we have plus 24x squared y to the fourth divided by 3xy. Now to write our answer, simplify. 6 divided by 3 is 2. X to the third y minus 8 thirds. X cubed divided by x is x squared. That goes on top. Y cubed divided by y is y squared on top. Plus 24 divided by 3 is 8. X squared divided by x is x. Y to the fourth divided by y is y cubed. That is a quick review on working and solving polynomials.